All right, we are recording. So my name is Dave Alexander. I've been with Loyola for 19 years now in various capacities, but I'm currently the Director of Student and Financial Services at the university, so the billing office. So we'll have hopefully a nice, smooth relationship for the next 4 or so years with you guys. We work closely with financial aid. Financial aid are the ones who are nice enough to grant you guys scholarships and grants and then award loans and things like that. So once financial aid has worked all of their magic, that's when you come over to our office to tie up any loose ends, pay the difference between what they've awarded and what we are charging. So with this presentation, what we're going to do is financial aid is going to do their presentation first. Then when Mary Beth is done, she's going to pass it back over to me. And then I'll do my little dog and pony show. And then after that, we have a bunch of questions that were submitted before this. We'll answer those questions if they're not already answered in our slides. And then after that, I don't know if we have any, I don't know if they have the chat set up to ask questions during, but otherwise you'll have all of our contact information. I know with SAS, you can actually schedule a meeting with your dedicated account specialist. We'll talk more about that later. So yeah, so if you have a pretty direct question, go ahead and set up a meeting. We can get you sorted out. But here, let me turn it over to Mary Beth. Mary Beth, if you want to share your screen, and we'll get started.
Tom is also on, so he'll jump in also. And let me just figure out how to share my screen on this.
It should be on the bottom of the Zoom share screen. It's a arrow inside of a TV pointing up.
Oh, there we go. Thank you.
And I'll find Tom too.
Okay, can you all see my screen? Yes, okay. So I'm going to go through the presentation and then Tom and I will tag team. So obviously you're tuned into Loyola Office of Financial Aid. If you haven't been on campus yet, you'll see that we're located in this beautiful Tudor style building. We're upstairs above undergrad admissions, and here's our contact information. So going on to get into the nitty gritty, most of you have already probably completed the financial aid process for the 22-23 year, but in case you haven't, we're going to just cover a couple of those, the basics. Each year, the student will have to complete the FAFSA form, and for the student's freshman year, of course, it was the 22-23 FAFSA. There's our information as far as our college school code. You do need to use your social security number, and we suggest you also do the data retrieval. Can you still see my screen? Yes, okay. And if you haven't already done so, it's not too late, but as time goes on, our financial aid funding and things like that are not going to be as available. So this application was available as of October 1st. So Tom, you want to cover the next one?
Sure, yeah. So again, if you haven't filled out the FAFSA and you do plan on applying for aid, even if you need to just take loans, either student or parent loans, you do need to fill out the FAFSA. So just keep that in mind, as Mary Beth said. Some of you who do complete the FAFSA are going to be selected for federal verification. And what that means is that the Department of Education has flagged your FAFSA for some reason. They do a percentage each year of FAFSAs that are filed. They flag them, and what that means is that the school, in this case Loyola, is responsible for collecting a bunch of information that is a hassle for you to submit and a hassle for us to try to collect from you, but nonetheless we have to do it. Normally it requires a copy of the actual signed federal tax return, a verification worksheet. If the student did not file a tax return, it might include a non-tax filer statement from the student. So things like that. If you are selected for federal verification, we will contact you via email the student. And on the self-service portal, you'll be able to see exactly what we need. Until we get all that information, a financial aid package is not complete. So it's important that if you are selected, that you get us all the information that we need in order to give you a final aid package.
Another thing to add before we go on to this next slide is, as incoming freshmen, class of 26, we did award financial aid to students without completing verification, because you're all, you know, trying to figure out what schools you're going to go to and things like that. So there is some leeway that we gave out estimated awards. But as a returning student next year and through senior year, we need that verification process to be completed entirely, you know, if you're selected, before we will offer a financial aid award. There are, part of a financial aid package is federal loans. So those are officially called the William D. Ford Direct Loans. And you may remember, for some of you that may have used them when you were in college, there are two versions. There's the subsidized version and unsubsidized. Subsidized means your eligibility is based on need, so calculated need. And there are set amounts for each year that you are awarded this. So $3,500 as a freshman or first year, $4,500, and then $5,500 for years 3 and 4. There is a fixed interest rate, which is established each July 1st. So the interest rate at this point is 4.99%. And subsidized means while the student is in school, no interest is accruing for that student, and repayment does begin after graduation. Unsubsidized is there's no calculated need. So, you know, somebody that has millions and millions of dollars can fill out the FAFSA and get an unsubsidized loan, since they didn't have any calculated need. The maximum amount each year is $2,000. And again, this is a fixed interest rate with the same interest rate as the subsidized version. The big difference is interest does start accruing for the student once the money is dispersed. So, you know, students can either let that interest go along, you know, right along each year, or they can elect to pay the interest as they go along on a quarterly basis or whatever. That you would individually decide what you wanted to do, and, you know, go online and make that payment, or the student make that payment as they go along. And the interest does accrue for this, repayment for the principal will begin after graduation as well. And this is just some, this is just, go ahead, Tom.
Okay. Just for everybody, this is all available on our website. We realize we're going through this pretty quickly, and we don't intend for you to memorize all this now. It is on the website, but what we really want to do is just kind of give you a quick overview and then really get to questions. So that's why we're kind of going through quickly. This slide right here, just because you were awarded a federal direct loan doesn't mean it actually goes onto a student account until you actually accept the loan. So the loan needs to be accepted, and then the students need to do the master promissory note and also complete the entrance counseling online. They are both done at the government sites, and once a student completes both of those and accepts the loan, then the proceeds from that loan for that particular semester, right now talking in the summertime, the fall tuition, the fall loan amount will appear as a credit on the student's bill, against the student's bill. And then again in the spring, that'll happen the same way.
So these are just the websites to do that entrance counseling and the promissory note. And this is what the page looks like when you click on that, and the student would need to log in. Tom, you want to cover the plus?
Sure, plus loans. These are the loans that, as Mary Beth indicated, the federal Stafford or William Ford direct loans are capped. They're small amounts for the students. So a lot of families need that bigger chunk of money to help cover what's not being covered by either grants or scholarships. And a lot of families choose the Parent Direct Loan Plus route. This is obviously in the name, it's a parent loan. Parents, you need to, even if you don't have any other financial aid or are not interested in any kind of applying for need-based aid, you do have to complete a FAFSA in order to obtain a parent loan, a Parent Plus loan. This is once the FAFSA has been completed, you can apply for that loan. Again, it lists the different details here regarding interest rates right now, 7.54. You can choose whether to traditionally go into repayment on these loans while the student's in school. Generally, that happens 60 days after the second disbursement of the loan, which would put you in March of 2023. Or you can click to have it deferred until after the student graduates. Again, the interest rate would accrue. And just as with the student federal loan, the parent loan, if you apply and you're accepted, you have to sign a promissory note. And then the money is automatically sent to the college for both the fall and the spring semester. We generally recommend that if you're applying for a parent loan, you want to do it for the full year, not just for the semester, just because you don't want to have to go through the process again in the spring. So let's just say hypothetically you needed a loan for $20,000. That's usually split in half, 10 for the fall, 10 for the spring. And then you'll see it as a credit. Once everything's completed, you'll see it as a credit on the student statement.
Some families may say, I don't want to do a plus loan. So there are other options. A student could, or a parent could take out a private alternative loan, which could be in the student or the parent's name. As a freshman, the student would generally need a cosigner or co-borrower, and that's generally a parent or older sibling, aunt and uncle, that kind of thing. So we call them alternative loans or private student loans. They are non-federal educational loans, and they're by banks, Sallie Mae, Citibank, or lenders. And we, since it's not through the school, they are private alternative loans, so they could have different interest rates based on, you know, the criteria for that particular lender. So it would be up to you to research that. And we do have a tool on our website called Elm Select, which will help you do a little bit of the footwork with that. Or you can say, well, I have this relationship with my particular bank, so I'd like to go through them. Once you complete that process, we generally get the information electronically and would certify that. And we would receive the funds just like we would for a PLUS loan or the federal direct loan electronically.
All right, work study. Boy, if there's one part or piece of financial aid that causes more questions and head scratching, it's work study. So let me go through it real quick, and I'm sure we'll have questions. Work study is a form of need-based financial aid, but it's handled completely different than normal scholarships, grants, and loans, in that it is not credited against the student statement. So you'll never see, if a student was awarded work study, you'll never see it credited reducing the tuition bill. Instead, work study is actually, as it's in the name, it's a job. As students would, if they are work study eligible, they are going to be receiving an email in a few weeks that's going to direct them to a list where they can see what jobs are available on campus. If they decide to accept work study, they would find one of those jobs. They generally work, I'd say 10 to 15 hours per week is probably normal. You can work more, you can work less, but it's like any other job. You get paid in biweekly paychecks for the amount of hours that you work. Right now, minimum wage in Maryland is $12.50. So they would be working and earning $12.50 per hour and be paid via direct deposit every 2 weeks. You don't have to accept work study, even if you were awarded. There is kind of two schools of thought regarding, especially when you're coming in as a freshman. Some folks say, well, you know, it's too much. I need to get acclimated to the campus and to school and to classes. So taking on that job is just too much for me. And that's legit. But the other side of that is, if you do accept the work study, it is kind of a good way to get involved in the community. You meet a lot of people, you earn some money. The jobs are very flexible. The supervisors, they obviously know students are there to study, and this is obviously, I think someone needs to mute. But bottom line is that if you were awarded work study, the email will be going out to students again shortly to give them background information on how to find a job. If you don't find one in the first few weeks of school, it becomes increasingly more difficult to find an open job, just because they're all going to be taken. So again, I know we'll get questions on that, but that's just the brief 101 thumbnail version of work study.
And just one question that I can foresee is, well, my child wasn't offered work study. Can they still work on campus? So yes, that's a possibility. There are two types of student jobs on campus. There's federal work study, which would be noted on the student's award notification. And then there's a direct hire position. It's kind of seamless to the student. They still get paid on biweekly and that kind of thing. But with a direct hire, that comes out of that department's budget. So not every department has a work study budget, but there are at least, half a dozen to 10 different departments that typically hire a good number of work study students. And they would look for their job the same way a work study student would. There's a new program called Handshake, and this is our first year using it. So, we're all kind of getting into that mode of figuring out how it works, but there will be a way to delineate whether or not you're a work study student and searching that database as opposed to a regular budget or direct hire student. And moving along, I think some of you are probably familiar with self-service from the orientation. I think Dave indicated that some of you had looked at that already when you were on campus, but just to give a quick refresher, self-service is something that the students and the parents can use throughout their time at Loyola. You can check, as we indicate, financial aid information, billing information, grades. The students can check their grades and everything. So it's a great, helpful link. And if you haven't already gotten proxy from your student, make sure you do that. We're going to talk about the financial aid portion of self-service. So we got a couple screenshots, but this is just kind of a little tip of the iceberg. You guys can, search around and get a lot of information. Tom.
And again, these next few screens, we'll go through very quickly, just because we want to give our friends in student administrative services their time on stage here. So if you have not gone into self-service, please do. Everything you need to know and more is there on the financial aid side of things. This on self-service, again, as I referred to earlier regarding verification, any kind of missing documents that we need are clearly indicated on self-service. If you've seen it, if it has to be done or it has been completed, you'll see the completed check mark. Incomplete obviously means we need something more from you. So we can go to the next one.
Also, real quick, Tom, there's the helpful links over on the right side of the page, which I'm circling with my cursor. That has will take you to where you need to go, master promissory note, parent portal, that kind of thing. And then if you have incomplete information, you can actually click on this should be highlighted to get to the actual form that you need. This is a picture of the My Financial Aid screen, and the top area is things that the student was offered based on their, grant, gift aid, as we would call it. And then things like loans or work study need to be accepted or declined. So as you can see, we have work study pending, and something needs to be done if it's in a pending status. So the student would be able to go to this drop down arrow and accept or decline the aid that is offered. And again, with the loans, there's further steps beyond that.
Just a screenshot again of self-service, the financial aid page showing all the different forms of aid. Also showing that the housing status is for this particular student, it's an on-campus student. So you want to double check to make sure that the housing status is correct for your son or daughter, or if you're the student yourselves, and also the enrollment status is full-time. Those are the kinds of things that you want to self-check. We think we got it right on our side, but sometimes things change. So we always want to make sure that we know where you are, and the reason why that is important for financial aid purposes is because your financial aid could change depending on your housing status, whether you're on campus or a commuter student. That could, not always, but could affect the need-based aid side of aid.
Two good helpful things that you should be aware of, and many of you maybe have already used the bill calculator. You can go on to the bill calculator and, depending upon what type of student you are, first year returning, that kind of thing. Most of you are going to be first year. You can indicate, plug in how much aid you have, financial need-based aid, and then figure out what the bill would be. And another tool to use is if you're thinking about doing the PLUS loan, you can use the PLUS loan calculator to help you figure out how much you would like to borrow in that area.
For those of you that received merit aid scholarship, we do have retention criteria for those. They're usually 4-year awards. Here are the different criteria that we expect for students, not only the first year, but moving forward. Generally speaking, if a student drops below the minimum GPA, they could be in danger of losing that scholarship. We will certainly, we don't want to, nor do we intend to take away scholarships. All of your sons and daughters are very bright, and that's why they received the scholarship they did. But certainly we understand things do happen. We do accept appeals, it just the GPA, and also the important thing is to remain a full-time student. Those are the two big ones to keep an eye on. The other retention criteria is a federal requirement to maintain SAP, satisfactory academic progress. That's a federal mandate that we have to adhere to. And again, there's a website there that goes into detail on what the expectations are for meeting SAP. Again, it's a grade point average. It's the pace of how you're completing the credits. It's something to read up on. Again, it happens. There's an appeal process for that as well. And again, all of this is on our website.
And that was kind of financial aid in a nutshell. And as I indicated at the beginning of the presentation, the FAFSA is a yearly process. So next year, for the sophomore year, the student will fill out the 23-24 FAFSA and then use 2021 income. And that will be available October 1st of their freshman year. So we're going to give Dave his time in the spotlight, and then we'll take questions after that. Go ahead, Dave.
Thanks, Mary Beth. All right, let me share my screen. Come on, there we go. All right, so the office, the billing office is, we have a fancy title. It's Student Administrative Services, because we do a few things more than just the bills, but for the purpose of this, we'll just be concentrating on the bills. Our office is located in Maryland Hall, room 140. That's a picture of our building right there. It's pretty nondescript. It's mostly classrooms. We are down on the first floor. You can reach us at sas@loyola.edu for our email address. Check out our website, loyola.edu/SAS. There is tons of information. We have a bunch of flyers that we were distributing during the orientations. So if you came to the orientation and didn't get one, you can go and download it. We have links for all the things you'll need for the bill. Like if you wanted to waive out of the health insurance or enroll in health insurance, the links are on there for that. If you wanted to waive out of the tuition refund plan, or learn more about that, there's links on there. And actually, I'll show you our website after our presentation here. And then you can always give us a call at 410-617-5047 to get a hold of someone. So we have dedicated account specialists based on the alphabet for all undergrad students. One of the nice things with SAS is that you can actually schedule a meeting with your account specialist online. The link for that is on our website. So make sure you visit that, after this presentation is over, if you guys want to schedule 15 or 30 minutes with your account specialist for next week, go ahead and jump on there and do that. They're all waiting for you to answer any questions that either Latanya or myself won't have answered tonight. So yeah, you can always give us a call at the 5047 number and get a hold of somebody too. It's a little difficult. We are a small office. We have 3 account specialists for all of the undergrad students and all of the graduate students. So those 3 individuals are working with over 4,000 people. So it can be a little daunting. So it is a little hard to get us on the phone. Same with financial aid. Once we do get on the phone, it's usually a 20-minute conversation. So don't fret if you can't get a hold of us on the phone. Just jump on our website, schedule time that you have yours exactly blocked out, because sometimes you guys leave a message, we call you back and you're not available. So scheduling a meeting is the best way to go. So like I said, we do a few other things besides the bills. I'll just talk about those real quick. We also do the ID cards. So all the first year students and transfer students should have received a few emails starting a couple weeks ago to submit their ID photos online. So if they could please do that before the beginning of August, because we have to start printing those out. We print those out in our office. And since it's a large class, we have a lot of cards to print out. So if you guys could please do that. Parking registrations. We also handle the parking registrations for the students. Now, residential first-year students, those students that live on campus, are not eligible to bring cars. But if there's commuters, we have a large commuter population. We do allow commuters to bring cars unless you guys want to drop them off every morning. That's totally fine, or they can Uber in. But we do have spots for commuters at the Fitness and Aquatic Center, so they can just go park their car there, jump on a shuttle, and get down to their classes. We do also offer emergency loans. These are loans for up to $100. There's no interest on them, and it has to be paid back within 30 days. This is if someone would lose their wallet, or something like that. These have become way less popular over the past 6 or 7 years. Like I think we did before COVID hit, we probably did like 3 or 4 in a year. So it's not something true popular, but if there's something out there that the student needs $100, up to $100 for, we can provide that for them as long as their bill is paid and they've never defaulted on one of those loans before. Since we are the billing office, we do get a lot of questions about ATM machines. So there is 3 ATM machines on campus. 2 of them are PNC because we have an exclusive student banking agreement with PNC. So if you guys came to the orientation, I believe PNC was there. And you can check out their website they're offering special student banking where they get like free online banking, a bunch of different stuff geared towards students. So if they don't already have a bank, look into the PNC. There's also a First Financial Federal Credit Union, which is the credit union that Loyola employees can join. So there's a small ATM on campus for the employees to take out. The only one that takes deposits are the PNC ATM. So if you were looking, I don't know if students even get checks anymore, but if Aunt Betty is going to send a check for their birthday and they want to deposit it on campus without using their phone, you'd have to do a PNC. So now that we're all here, how do we pay for this? So we let financial aid go first because they always get the fun news of, you know, doling out the scholarships and grants and stuff like that, all that sweet free money. Now we're sitting here and all right, how are we gonna cover the rest? That, you know, the scholarships and grants generally don't cover 100% of the bill. One, our tuition we are an expensive tuition school. Housing and meal plans are on there too. Those are also, so what can student administrative services and your dedicated account specialist do for you? We can help you guys out. So payment methods. We take good old cash and check. We get tons of checks mailed into us. So that's fine. Just make sure if the checks are coming in, please note the student's ID number on the memo line of the check so we can deposit to the correct student. Sometimes if relatives are sending in checks, the relative's name is different from the student's name and we can't match them up on our system. So it takes a little bit of research to do so. Always put the student's ID number on the check and we'll get that posted for you. Cash, you can walk into our office and give us cash and we'll gladly put it on the student account as well to get the bill covered. We do accept debit and credit cards. They are online only through self-service. So this is another reason that you want to have your students make sure that they grant you proxy access. And students, if you're listening, grant your parents, grandparents, you can grant anybody you want proxy access in the system, which is kind of nice. You can do lawyers, you can do accountants, whoever is going to be handling the bill, that's who you want to grant access to for self-service. And as long as they have an email address, they can get it. You'll have to add their information to the system, but it's super easy to do. So the credit and debit cards are online only through self-service, and there's a 2.4% convenience fee. So you'll see that convenience fee twice, 2 or 3 times before you actually make the payment, just so realize that convenience fee is going for the convenience of using a debit or credit card. It's not a bad thing if you're using it to get Marriott or Hilton points, something like that. But if you want to avoid the fee, feel free to use an e-check online. There's no fee for e-checks. To do them, you just need routing number and account number to do those online, also through self-service. Just remember, if either a check or an e-check is bounced for any reason, there's a $35 bounce check or bounced e-check fee that'll go on the student account. So be really sure you're putting in the correct routing number and account number to make e-check payments or ACH payments online. So before you do, just triple check with your bank just to make sure you're using the correct account numbers. We get tons and tons of people that have 529 plans or other third parties that are paying for the student's bill. So it could be, you know, if you work at another university and they have a benefit where they pay for, you know, part of the tuition for your student to go wherever. Generally they mail us a check, you know, all the addresses on the bill on self-service. You'll see it right there at the top. 529 plans, every 529 plan is different. They all ask for different information, but generally they're going to want to know the student's name, which they should already know, the student's Loyola ID number, because they will put that on the check, and what school you want that sent to. I would always recommend to have the 529 send the check directly to us. Most of them do give you the option to have the check sent to you to deposit and then for you to pay us. But then the IRS always gets a little wonky. They're always looking at, you know, why did you get the check and why did you keep it for all this time and then send it to Loyola, or how come you got this amount and only sent Loyola this amount? Like they can get a little nosy. So I always recommend just having the 529 sent directly to us, and 90% of the 529s do just cut checks and mail them. So we'll get stacks and stacks of 529 checks all over from now until the beginning of school. We also do wire payments. If you go to our website, the wire information is on there under payment options. If you guys wanted to wire us money directly to our bank, we can do that. Just make sure, again, that the student's ID number is in the description somewhere so we can match those up. If you're doing international wires, we actually partner with the company Flywire. That information is also on our website. And like what Flywire is, essentially they just sell online currency. So you log into Flywire, pay with whatever foreign currency you would like to pay. They convert that to US dollars and send it to us. The whole process is transparent, so we can see when you've gone on to request the money be sent to Flywire, when it's actually been sent to Flywire, and then when Flywire is sending it to us. So it's really nice, and it's really easy. It's a really easy process to do. We also offer a monthly payment plan through Nelnet. So Nelnet does either a 3, 4, or 5-month payment plan for each semester. There's a $40 enrollment fee for each semester. Next year, it's actually going to go up to $45 per semester. But then they take however much you want to budget over those few months and break it up for that $40 fee. They do automatic ACH out of your checking account every month, or they also do debit or credit cards, but they charge a fee for that as well. So those fees are disclosed on their site. So just be careful when you go on there. To sign up for the monthly payment plan, again, you need to have access to self-service. When you log into self-service, I will show you. Let me just jump out of my thing and I can show you self-service real quick, because it's a little bit tough to get to. So here in self-service, when you guys go into self-service, you always want to click on student finance and then hit student finance again, payment plan information. Super easy. And in this proceed to processor, will literally just log you right into Nelnet and pull over whatever current balance is on your account into the Nelnet system for that semester. Sorry, now it's retrieving my current balance, which shouldn't be anything. I don't think I have anything for the fall semester. Oh, I do owe. I owe $7 from the spring 20. So once you're in here, you just click set up a payment plan. Your first time going in, you have to answer security questions and things like that, but then you just hit that set up a payment plan. It pulls the balance over. You don't need to, you can change the balance of the payment plan. So if you know there's financial aid that's not been approved yet, or a scholarship is coming in that's not in our system yet, you can change the amount of the payment plan while you're setting it up. It's like the second or third option shows how much it's going to be. You can click in that box and change the amount. So you don't need to budget the whole thing.
Dave, can I ask a question?
Oh, yes, please.
So if their aid is in an accepted status, will that show when they pull it over?
Yes. Yeah. As long, yep. So
Okay.
yes, all your financial aid, everything that shows up on the bill will show up in the Nelnet system. So yes, you don't have to do any math unless there's something that's not been accepted yet, or sending anything that's not in our system. You'll need to have that subtracted on your own and then go on about your day. Jump back in here. And then if you guys do have any questions about payment plans or anything like that, please reach out to us. Once you have the payment plan established with Nelnet, we can actually change it on the back end. So if something happens, like if another scholarship comes in late and you need to change it, just get with your dedicated account specialist, and they can go right into the Nelnet system and lower the next payment. We have to make any changes have to be 2 business days before that payment comes out. That's one of the only limitations, because they do automatic out of the checking account. They need 2 business days to get that all together. So don't call us the day the payment's due and say, oh, I got to change it, because we can't. Once it's 2 days, we are out of luck, unfortunately. So FERPA and proxy access, Mary Beth was talking a little bit about this. This is the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act is the federal things. Since the students are now official grown-ups, their education records are protected, and their education is grades, financial, like their bill, financial aid is protected, even like where they're using their meal swipes around campus. All that stuff is protected because it is their private information. So it's a student's responsibility to grant anyone they want access to their online account. And they can do student account, they can do financial aid, and they can do grades, or they can do one. They don't have to do all of them. They can not award access to the grades if they don't want to, but then you also don't have to pay the bill if you don't get access to the grades. That's on you guys to decide. We'll let that up to you. But the students can grant and remove access at any time. And they can always add extra people, like I said, if you need to add the lawyer, whoever else. If Aunt Betty wants to go on there and pay online, you can give Aunt Betty access, and you'll have to walk her through working the website, but she's there. On your bill, if you guys have gone onto self-service and checked out the bill, you'll notice that all full-time students that are registered are charged health insurance, and there's also a tuition refund plan. This still says Wellfleet. I forgot to change that one. It's not Wellfleet this year. It's United Healthcare. But so all students must be required. We require students to be covered by health insurance But you can waive out of it. It doesn't have to be our plan. They just have to have some insurance out there. It's $36.26 for this year, and it would cover them from August 15th of this year to August 14th of next year. So it does cover them even if they're not our student in the summer. It would cover them next summer. But the waiver process is really simple. The link is on our website. The students just have to log in with their name, ID number, and date of birth, fill in all the health insurance information, and then as long as that's all good, they'll be waived out of the system. It doesn't happen automatically. It's actually a manual process that Latanya has to do every couple days. We get the list from the insurance company of everyone to waive, so we pull those up. We try to get those as soon as we can. But if you waive out of the insurance and you're going to sign up for the payment plan, you just have to deduct that $36.26 off the bill if we haven't gotten around to it just yet. Also, the tuition refund plan is $102 per semester, and it's kind of like term life insurance for the tuition, housing, and meal plan charges for the semester. If a student has to withdraw due to an accident, illness, some sort of mental health issue, DOAR will refund up to 80% of the tuition, housing, and fees. So for $102, it's not a bad deal, but you guys are, I always recommend it for at least the first year, and then when they go abroad, because who knows what can happen then, because they're way out of our reach then. We actually had a student that had an issue in Spain this past spring semester and had to come home. So it's not a bad thing for $102. It's not terrible to keep, but just you can waive out of it if you choose. So I said we are also in charge of the ID card. It's called the Evergreen card. The ID card is the student's identification, obviously. It's also their library card. We share the library with Notre Dame right next door, Loyola. So we share a library with them. So that's where they can, take their books out. They can actually go online to the library's website, and there's a bunch of different databases they can get access to with their ID card. It's also their security and gate card access. So the card will get them into the dorm they're supposed to be in and keep them out of dorms they're not supposed to be in. It's also what they use for printing and copying. So if they need to print something out, they just go over and tap their ID at the printer. It pulls up their account and they can print out whatever they need. Every student gets $15 worth of printing, either a year or semester. I forget which it is. I can't remember if it's year or semester. And then after that, they have to have money on their Evergreen account, the last one on there that we'll talk about to print out. Their ID card is also what they're going to use for their meal swipes and their meal points. So once they have that stuff sorted out, if there's any off-campus students that want to have a meal plan, they can add a meal plan if they like, or they can just go on and deposit money directly to their meal point account. And the website I'll show you in a little bit. The meal points, it's 1 point equals $1. They can only be spent on campus, and they do go away at the end of the academic year. So if you do have meal points, make sure you use them before graduation each year. And the benefit to the meal points is there's no sales tax on those funds. So they can only be spent on campus. So the state of Maryland, we're not required to charge sales tax. So it does get your Starbucks latte at a tax-free price, which is kind of nice. Also, the Evergreen account is a pre-funded debit spending account. So that covers things such as the bookstore, the vending machines will take the Evergreen card, post office, student activities. If they have trips, you can use your card there. Like I said, printing and copying. Rec sports, if there is any trips or anything that they can do. Box office takes it. Health center also takes it. Dining service does take Evergreen, but you are charged the sales tax on that money. And there's some off-campus merchants that you can use the Evergreen at as well. Evergreen account popularity has gone down since most students all have a credit or debit card at their disposal. So this was from the before time when all students didn't have all access to all this easy money. And if you go to loyola.edu/evergreen deposit, you can if the students can log in with their Loyola username and password and see all of their activity, or parents, grandparents, whoever else can actually go to that website and do a guest deposit where you're just putting in their last name and ID number and then putting, $50 on the account for the student to spend. You won't see any activity on there because again, it's covered by FERPA, but you can get money on there if needed. Oh, was that my last one? That might have been my last slide. All right, awesome. All right, so let me stop sharing my screen. And we can look at the questions you guys submitted earlier. So I'll be the host of the game show. And I'll dole out. So Mary Beth, Tom, and Latanya, if you guys want to unmute, I will throw the questions out and you guys answer them to the best of your abilities. Whoever gets them right without going over within $100 wins both showcases.
All right.
So
What's in the
first-
showcase?
No, you don't want to know. It's on campus. You'll get it then. So this one is actually for Latanya and myself. So we say, after course selection, will it affect the overall balance of fall tuition? So if you're a full-time student, that's a yes and a no question. Full-time students are all charged the same full-time rate. So if the student is registered for 12 or more credits in a semester, you're going to pay the full-time rate. If a student is part-time, the part-time students pay per credit. So it all depends what your situation is after a course selection, whether you're billed at the full-time or the part-time rate. Generally, our students are full-time. We have very few part-time students. Sometimes the senior year, second semester senior year, will have students that took an extra class here and there and don't need a full-time load for the spring. So they would be in the part-time rate, but 99% of our students are full-time. So you can add and drop classes through the first week of school. That's not going to change your balance due. If you go over, the catalog says any credits over the full-time is from 12 to 20 credits. You pay the same rate. Anything over 20, we're allowed to bill you for at the per credit rate for those extra credits, but rarely is a student able to take 21 credits in a semester. It would be a huge load. It would be a huge load to take. So I'll take that first one. Let's see. All right, we talked about that one. All right, this one is for financial aid. What loans do you suggest to use in paying tuition? And what are thoughts on home equity loans?
I will take that one. So it's the bottom line answer is it's a family choice. Whatever works best for you. The problem with the federal student loans is usually that's the first loan that families take. And that's going to be the lowest interest rate and kind of the best kind of a loan. The problem with those, of course, is that they're capped at that $5,500. So it used to be that we would recommend the private alternative loans last because the interest rates were really high. But in recent years, they've really become competitive. They had to, or they're going to go out of business. So it's really up to the family what best works for you. Again, the parent loan, a couple questions you want to ask yourself. Does the parent want to take it out, or do you want the loan in the student name? If the parent is willing, then go to the federal plus loan route. It's quick, it's easy. The money gets directly to us in a relatively quick turnaround, a few days. If you want it to be in the student's name, then you're going to have to go with the private alternative loans. Generally, well, most 99% of the time, they're going to require a co-borrow, which is going to be a parent anyway. So home equity loans, again, if you can get a good one, go for it. The bottom line is it doesn't matter to Loyola which loan you take. Whatever works best for you, and some families kind of piece things together. They take out, they say, all right, we're going to do a payment plan for we can afford this amount per month. The rest we'll put into a loan. We'll have the student take out their federal loans, and then we'll do a plus loan on top of that to make all the ends meet. But if you can get a great home equity loan or some other source, go for it. Again, it doesn't matter to us.
As long as the bill's paid, that's our main concern. And it'll be your student's main concern when they're trying to register for classes and they're on hold for non-payment. That's when you guys will be getting the phone calls. All right, so the next one. Oh, here, Latanya, I'll let you answer this one. It's a little bit tricky. We have a 529 plan and would like to withdraw from that to pay her tuition monthly, if that is possible. Is it?
Gee, thank you, Dave.
And I'll jump in too if you want.
I
but
so appreciate
yeah,
you.
that is a tricky one. But go ahead, see what you say.
So you would need to set up for the Nelnet payment plan. But the only thing is with the Nelnet payment plan, it is automatically debited from an account. And unless the 529 company wants to give Nelnet their bank account routing number and account number to have that payment debited, that could be a little iffy. In this situation, I would first contact Nelnet to see what they would say about it, and what they would suggest. They may suggest for the 529 company to send the check to you, and then the payment be debited from your bank account once you deposit that.
This was
529
not
check
the
in there.
right place. I'm getting, I don't know. Yeah, tell me where to put it.
Sorry about that. So, but I hope that answered the question.
Yeah. So yeah, we get that question every couple of years. The problem is the 529 plans don't necessarily, they want to just do process a payment to the universities twice a year. So it's more work for them to have the things processed every month. So they generally don't allow that to happen. So 529 generally, they just want to send the check right to the university. They don't always like working with a third party also. So they just want to send a check to Loyola and then be done with it. And usually the amount of interest you would earn on those payments is usually negligible compared to the work it would take to get it actually done. So it may be possible. It all depends on the 529 plan. All right, so next one we got is, this is a long one, hold on. Is it possible for my daughter to get a loan on her own without a co-signer? That's for financial aid.
I'll take that one. Generally, the question would be no. A freshman, 18-year-old freshman, usually doesn't have any credit or not much credit at all. So that would be what a private alternative loan would be doing. They'd be pulling to see whether or not the student had good credit and what their score was. There may be some students out there that maybe have had a credit card since they were a freshman in high school. So it is possible. If you are approved, if the student's approved on their own, they may get a better interest rate having somebody else as a co-signer or co-borrower. So, keep that in mind if they can get it on their own. Generally, maybe a junior or senior, once they have more of a credit history, they could possibly get it on their own if they have been, paying off a credit card or something like that for the past 2 years.
Awesome. Let me see, this one's a two-part, but I think financial aid is all, it's what loans will I need to take out? And is there still time to register my healthcare? So there is still time to waive out of the health insurance. I think that's what that question is asking. The deadline to waive out of the health insurance is the 31st of August. So it's before school starts. So the process honestly takes 5 minutes. The students just log in. As long as they have the health insurance card, they can get it done, and then we'll get that charge off of the account. Let me see. Oh, here's a financial aid one. Are there any alternative scholarships for students who did not receive any form of financial aid?
I am up. The short answer is the most likely no, not this year. The scholarships that were offered coming in were determined through our admissions office. I noticed there was a question somewhere in here that was asking the difference between a presidential and I believe a dean scholarship. The admissions office, our admissions office, at the time students were admitted and accepted into the college, they determined based on the academic credentials of each student what scholarship that we were going to award. So that kind of delineates between the different kind of scholarships. So those are awarded by the admissions office. We then, in financial aid, if you apply for need-based aid, we added in possible other forms of aid, such as grants, student loans, work study, those kinds of things. Moving forward into sophomore year, there's not a lot of chance for any additional scholarships. Once you get to the junior, senior year, the chances of obtaining one of our endowed scholarships goes up considerably, depending on the academic credentials. If they're doing really well, then there's a good chance they might receive a scholarship junior, senior year. That being said, that's all internal. Of course, if your son or daughter or if you're the student receives scholarships from an outside source, you just need to let us know. We try to incorporate those into an aid package as most beneficial as possible. Sometimes it does affect their current aid. I would say generally most times, because most of these outside scholarships are for small amounts, most times we're able to add them to the existing aid package. So if you've gotten one from your local Knights of Columbus or summer job or you name it, please let us know, and we'll make sure that is a credit, becomes a credit against the amount that you owe for the fall. I hope that answered. Yeah.
Yep, and yeah, that's it. Thank you, Tom. I think that is good. Let me see here. All right, we'll do an SAS one since financially got it. Pretty long one there. How do I know how much I'll be paying and how to handle multiple forms of payment? So how you know how much you're gonna be paying is through self-service. On the self-service website, once you're in there in student finance, when you first click on student finance, it takes you to the account summary page, where it just gives you a list of all the semesters that you've been at Loyola. So if we were to look at mine, it would be super long because I've been at Loyola for a long time and we use my account for testing. Once you're in there, you can click on that semester to view the details of that semester. And then on the far right-hand side of the screen, there's actually a view statement where you can view a breakdown, like a printable statement of the entire bill, which will show all the financial aid and all that stuff. So the self-service is where you want to go to check all of your bill, know how much you're going to pay. Someone else is asking if the tuition seen on the student account is the final amount. That also depends on whether the student doesn't accept the aid or declines aid that was in there that was previously accepted, then they declined it. So that balance is usually a moving target. Sometimes the students change their meal plan. So those can always go up and down. So it's always tough to say, is that the final amount? And if it's, if there's a balance too, we will reach out and let you know that, hey, Latanya is good at sending those emails, really good at sending those emails, to let you know that the balance has not been paid. So she will get that. But yeah, just keep checking self-service to make sure that all your financial aid that you think is on there showing up on the bill. If it's not, reach out to financial aid. And then, once you get to, if you want to set up a payment plan, I saw it on the chat popped up asking about the payment plans. Payment plans are set up through self-service, and they are the deadline for the plans. There's no real deadline for now. The amount of the number of months you can spread out your plan just changes. So if you had set up the payment plan 2 days before July 1st, you could have had the 5-month plan. So now if you sign up today for the payment plan, you would be in the 4-month plan starting. Your first payment will be August 1st. After the end of July, right before the beginning of August, if you sign up, you'd be in the 3-month plan where your first payment would be in September. Once we get into September, the student's already on hold. They can't add drop and stuff like that, but we do have some other secret payment plans that break it up over, make a down payment and split it up over October, November. So the fall plans always end in November. And then the spring plan, the first 5-month plan would start in December. The first payment would do December. So in November, when the spring bills are being prepared, you can then jump in and sign up for the spring plan. But you have to initiate that through self-service. So make sure your student has granted proxy access to you, and you guys log into Nelnet and sign up your security questions and all that fun stuff first. All right, here's one for, it's two for financial aid, but I'm combined into one. Oh, wait, should I just lost it? All right, what is the deadline to accept financial aid? And we completed an appeal for additional financial aid. When will we know the outcome?
Well, the deadline is generally, well, for the returning students, it is in April, and then for the new students, it was earlier than that. So that deadline's already passed. As we indicated earlier, you can still apply for financial aid, but the funds are depleting. So, you know, you probably wouldn't receive your maximum eligibility, you know, of what you would have gotten originally if you had met the deadline. And as far as accepting or declining, I think that was part of the question. If you wanted to show up as a payment received, you know, like accepting the loan and then doing the master promissory note and the entrance counseling, you would want to do that, you know, at least a week before the last week in July, so that we'd have a week for processing to get that so it shows up. That being said, Dave, maybe you can interject if they're expecting, you know, they sign the master promissory note and the entrance counseling and it's processing, you know, if it's showing up as A, but it, you know, how does that work on your end?
Yep. So yeah, federal. So the loan processing can take a couple of days to do. So you want to have all this stuff done, all your aid accepted and all your loans applied for and everything by the due date for the fall bill, which is August 1. So that's because anything beyond that, then your student gets put on hold. They can't add, drop, and, you know, change your schedule and things like that. So it all depends. But yeah, you definitely want to have it done by the bill due date to get all your ducks in a row, have your payment plan set up by then. You know, have the money requested from the 529. Our bill date is well before the start of school. That way we can help people that need help working through different situations through that time. And, you know, sometimes the 529s take a little while to send those checks in. But you definitely want to have it done as close to the bill due date as you can, because once the students are on campus, they'll be on hold for that. And, you know, they could be held up for adding and dropping. So you definitely want to sooner rather than later is the course for that.
Yeah, and we usually say if you're going to do a plus loan or a parent alternative, you know, an alternative loan or something like that, at least give it a month. It usually doesn't take that long, but there are, you know, glitches along the way that could pop up, and you want to have time without sweating that it's going to get done in time, you know, if something does come up.
All right, we got another financial aid. How do you get Pell Grants, and are they dependent on family resources?
Pell Grants are a need-based form of aid. They are generally basically the Department of Education determines who's going to receive a Pell Grant, and it's based on the results of the FAFSA. Usually it's the highest need students that receive a Pell Grant. Loyola does not determine the amount of the Pell Grant. Again, that is a federal decision. And if you remember getting aid packages from different colleges when you were trying to make a decision, that Pell Grant most likely was on every one of those award notifications from different institutions, and the amount should have been the same. So you can't ask for Pell Grant. You either qualify for it or you don't. Again, if you haven't filed a FAFSA and you don't know, then I would encourage you to do that. As we've said before, it's not too late, but you certainly want to get on that. One more thing about the Pell Grant. I know we've had a lot of questions over the last few weeks about the in self-service. Those of you that do have a Pell Grant, in some cases, it is appearing as ineligible, or a portion of it is appearing as ineligible. That is, and Mary Beth, maybe you can help here. It's a system issue in which the Pell Grant is tied to students being enrolled as a full-time student. So if the student is not enrolled full-time yet, it's possible that's why it's showing as ineligible right now. It will clear up once all the students have gone through the registration process, everybody's in as a full-time student ready to go for the fall semester. But if you do see that on there, we are aware that there are a number of students that are showing that, and we anticipate everything eventually getting moved over. Am I hitting that right, Mary Beth?
Yes, so basically, we had an instance where a student was registered full-time currently, but I think they only registered for 9 credits during their orientation. So they added another class later, another 2 classes later. So we have to run an internal, when I say we, Loyola, not financial aid, there has to be an internal process run to update all of that. The other issue would be, making sure that you are undeclared rather than undecided. But, most of the students, this is still going to be a process. If there's any issue that it doesn't get worked out, we will reach out to you. And of course, Student Administrative Services, Latanya, Dave, and all their area is aware that this is showing, some of it is showing as ineligible, and it should work out in the end. So you can, subtract that amount off of your bill, and, anticipation that will, once the internal update is done, everything will be fine.
All right, let's see. So we talked about, this one's pretty long too. We talked about private loans versus Parent Plus. How do loan repayment options work, and where do we find the info? Should parents co-sign for the loan or put it in their name? If they put in a parent's name, should we alternate parents each year?
Yeah, it's again, you can do what you want regarding the loans. Whoever wants to take it in the family, that's up to you. It's whatever works best. There's no right or wrong answer. It's kind of a time to have a family meeting. Who's going to take the loan? I would say most of the time, if you're taking a plus loan, it's usually the same parent that takes it out, every year. But that doesn't have to be the case.
Just to interject, if there's a situation of a divorce or separated or never married family, each parent can take out a portion of the plus loan for that same year. So mom says, all right, we're splitting it 50-50 as we decided during the divorce process or whatever, or just an internal agreement. You're going to do 15, I'm going to do 15. So that means each parent goes on and, does the promissory note and the request form, and, we'll get the information. And, the parent isn't going to have access to the other parent's information. They're done, totally separate. Or, if there's a divorce agreement that you do one year, I do the next, whatever works out for the family.
Right. And to touch on repayment, that was a part of the question. Generally for the federal student loans, they go into repayment after the student graduates. For the subsidized loan, no interest occurs. We kind of went over this earlier. Unsubsidized loan, interest will occur. Parents, if you take out a plus loan, you can defer until after the student graduates. And the private loans, whatever lender you choose will tell you what your options are regarding repayment.
Awesome, thank you. All right, Latanya's been sitting here awful quiet. Let me get one for her. Latanya, this one's from the chat. It says, can the spring semester expected bill go up? If we apply for a federal Parent Plus loan for the year and the spring semester is higher than expected, can that loan be adjusted? So this is kind of for Latanya and for financial aid, but.
So basically your spring semester bill, it's always going to be a little more than your fall semester, because for the fall semester, you pay the deposit that's going to be deducted from the bill. You will not have that deposit or that credit for the spring. So you can look for your bill to be, I believe it's $545. Bear with me.
Right.
I think it's $705 because they don't charge the
Yes.
orientation fee now.
Yep,
So-
yeah, 705 higher for the
So,
spring.
705 will be, increased for, will add it onto, well, the spring bill will be at least $705 more. Also keep in mind, if the student changes their meal plan, then yes, that can increase your bill for the spring semester. But if you're asking if the tuition would increase or if the housing cost would increase, no. It's, the increase would not take place. They don't like reevaluate the tuition costs until like, I want to say February, March, and it wouldn't take effect until the summer of 2023. Man, okay, yeah, summer of 2023. Now, if you do need to increase the Parent Plus loan, the one thing that I believe financial aid does suggest is to apply for the max amount. Because if you apply for the max amount and if there is an increase, then they can always go ahead and adjust it. But if you apply for a specific amount and you need more, then I believe you would have to reapply for the addition. Mary Beth, Tom, could you please verify that one?
So if the parent wants to increase the plus loan, is that what the question was?
Right, if the
Latanya?
plus loan, if they apply for a plus loan and if their cost for the spring semester increase, can
Sure.
they adjust the plus loan? And if they apply for a certain amount, that's not the max amount and they need more, then would they have to reapply for another plus loan for the addition?
Yes, so if you request the maximum amount, and, you know, at some point, oh, let me back up. You request 15,000 for the year and we certify it for 15,000. Then, if you need another 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever, then you would have to go back on and fill out a new request form. You wouldn't need to do another master promissory note, just the request form. If you originally request the maximum and then say you come and you see your fall bill is, oh, geez, I requested too much. Let me send an email to Loyola and ask them if they could lower my disbursement to, you know, instead of the maximum 10,000 even. And then spring semester, you're like, we need a little bit more, then you could send an email to our loan administrator to see whether or not you can increase that just internally.
Awesome, thank you. All right, we got another one from the chat. Latanya, this one's for you. Says, I have clarified to be a commuter for freshman year, but room and board is still included on the fall semester's bill. I'm a little confused.
So if the room and board is on your bill, that is because maybe when you first admitted, were admitted, you indicated that you were gonna be on campus. What I do is I always look at the first year list of students who's gonna be on campus, who has indicated they're gonna be on campus, and then apply the housing onto that bill. If you have changed since then once I go back and see who's actually going to be on campus and who isn't, then I will remove that housing cost. But if you don't mind, if you could just go ahead and if you want to email me tomorrow to let me know, I can look into your account specifically to see exactly what's going on. And I would say call me, but I apologize. I'm having issues with Skype, so I very well may get disconnected. I've already hung up on like maybe 5 parents over the week. So, but if you would like to email me directly, just to inquire about that, that's fine as well. But if it's on your bill, it's because at one point you indicated that you were going to be on campus, but that charge will be removed once I go back and do a clean.
Awesome. All right, I'm going through the chat. So we did talk about how to waive the health insurance. If you guys didn't if you didn't receive an email about waiving the health insurance, please visit loyola.edu/SAS. And the link is on there to waive out of the health insurance. Super easy. Let me see. Yeah, it says, can you use any bank with those ATMs? Yeah, the ATMs on campus, you can withdraw from any bank, but they do charge, you know, the regular ATM fees. And your bank may also charge a fee for withdrawing money from a foreign ATM. scholarships, do these funds cover books? What doesn't it cover? Yeah, so for financial aid, says, do scholarships cover books, or what don't they cover?
Well, I think the way to look at not only scholarships, but all aid is that all the financial aid, be it loan, scholarship, grant, go towards paying the bill, the total bill. They don't specifically go for, you know, a little bit of scholarship goes to housing or tuition or books. It goes towards paying the billable charges, and the billable charges are going to be in most cases, well, all cases, tuition, and then for resident students, tuition, room and board. So it goes towards paying that balance. If you have scholarships, grants, and you take the maximum amount of loans, you might have a credit balance, meaning that you've paid for the through those forms of aid, you've paid for the tuition, the room and the board. That leftover money, what you can do is you can switch that over to the Evergreen account and use that to buy books. So in a roundabout way, the total aid, really probably the loan is what's creating the credit balance, can be used to help pay for not only books, but you know, sometimes parents get if you've taken out more than you need for living expenses and those kinds of things, then a refund check would be issued, you know, towards the end of September, and you can use that money to help offset some of the expenses you might have put out for, you know, supplies and those kinds of things. I did see one question on there, speaking of that, of work study, somebody asked, you know, does that money have to go towards paying tuition? And it does not. As I explained earlier, the student is paid, that money goes into their bank account. They can use that money for whatever they want. They could turn around and put it on their student account. I'd say in most instances, though, students use that to help pay for their supplies, their basic living expenses. It's one less phone call home to mom and dad to ask for money. They have their own little stash of money that they can use to help fund their pizza, their books, their nightlife activity, whatever it might be. So that work study is, again, it's a form of financial aid, but it's going directly into the student's pocket, and they can use that for what they want. Some students might turn around and send it home to mom and dad, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
Or then they generally don't pay it to SAS when it gets onto their account either to
Right.
cover the bill. Yeah. So we have another one from the chat. Do we leave a balance on the Evergreen accounts instead of using Apple Pay or debit or credit card or cash? The Evergreen account, it's always nice for the students to have a little money on there, but I wouldn't do too much on there. In years past, the most students use Evergreen to pay for their laundry. This year, laundry is going to be switching over to an app on their phone where they have to put either a credit or debit card on there to do their laundry. So Evergreen is, as I said, is becoming less and less popular. It is nice for them. I would just put like $20 on there. One nice thing about the Evergreen, if it's not used, it just rolls over. Unlike the meal points, it rolls over semester, year to year. And if there's anything on it when the student leaves Loyola or graduates, we refund it back to them. But it is nice to have a little bit on there just in case. We got a question here about the e-check payment. When you're doing an e-check payment online, it automatically populates with the student's name in there. You can go ahead and change that to whoever name is on the account, but that won't bounce it. That is just looking literally at the numbers on there. It's not looking at the name and address and all that stuff. So you don't have to fret too much about that. Here's a question. All right, to use funds from a 529 plan for books, how do we get the funds dispersed? Will the students be able to purchase books if the money is paid to their financial account? That I'm not 100% sure. If the 529 check that is sent to us is more than what we need, we would refund that back to either the students if they have direct deposit or a check mailed home. But that doesn't happen until after the start of the semester. So the first semester for the students, if there's an overage on their student account, that refund will be done 5 weeks after classes start. Subsequent semesters, we send out the refunds 2 weeks after classes start. What you might be able to do is when the student purchases the books, you might be able to submit that receipt to the 529 plan, and then get reimbursed for that. But you have to check with the 529s because they're all different. Every single one is different. Let's see. Is there a form to print out and send with a tuition check? And what's the address to send the tuition? So you can print out the online statement on self-service, but you don't need to. As long as the student's ID number is written on there, we know if it's coming to our address, which is 4501 North Charles Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21210. And then put attention SAS for Student Administrative Services. That way it gets right to us. But you can print out the bill and send it in. You don't have to, as long as the student's ID number is on the check, we are good to go. Okay, here's one for Latanya. What should the student do if he has a credit showing for the tuition?
If the student has a credit, we generally refund the first year students 5 weeks after the start of the fall semester. So if there's a credit on the account, I'm going to say end of September, beginning of October, you will receive a refund. So you really don't have to do anything right now.
Awesome. All right. Let's see. I'm doing the Direct Plus loan. If we have money at the end of the semester, want to put it on our balance, how do we need to do it? So if someone wants to start repaying one of the federal loans to pay, so they're paying lower interest, you would actually pay that, Tom and Mary Beth, if I'm not incorrect, directly to the federal government through the studentloans.gov site, or that's where the instruction would be to start repaying the loans.
Yeah, you could pay it back directly through the website, as you said. Probably the best option is if you could kind of time it that you weren't borrowing too much. And the plus loan calculator would come into play with that, because you don't want to have to, have borrow and then possibly be paying interest on that if you don't pay it back right away. But yes, if you decide to do that or pay interest as you go along, you would do it directly through the Department of Ed website.
Awesome. Let's see here. Historically, what has the tuition increase per year over the past 5 years? So it's usually between like 2 and 3%, I believe. Anecdotally, I can't remember off the top of my head, but so it definitely goes up every year. There's not been a year it has not gone up. I can't tell you that, but it goes up. So the information comes out. Families get a letter during the spring semester, letting them know what the tuition is going to be for the upcoming academic year, and the increased rates start with the summer semester. Still going through the chat. I think we have that one. Address, got that. Oh, here's someone. So somebody opted out of the health insurance and the tuition refund plan. And can I go back and reverse either one of the options? Yes, you can always go back and reverse. One of the things, just email us, email your account specialist, and we can get that waiver reversed so that you're in there for that. And if you do decide you don't want if you want the tuition refund insurance for the fall semester, and then in the spring decide you don't want it, again, just email your account specialist and we can get you out of that for the spring semester. We are coming up on time here. We've got like a minute left. But yeah, so everyone, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions that we didn't answer. Reach out if you have, someone had a question about post 9/11 GI bills. Those are pretty labor intensive. So if you guys want to set up an appointment with me, just go to loyola.edu/SAS. Scroll down to the bottom, you see schedule meeting with me, Dave Alexander, on there, and just jump on my calendar. We can talk about that. No problem. And then, yeah, we will, this will be posted somewhere on student engagement site, but we will not 100% sure where, but yeah, we would like to thank everybody for your time. Please feel free to reach out. We're here to help you, to get these students out of here in the best situation we can possible that is financially advantageous for all. So we do appreciate your time and attention to these matters. And please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. We've all been here many, many years, and there's not been a situation yet that we haven't heard. So don't feel afraid to reach out. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a lovely evening, and we'll see you soon.